Hello, welcome back to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry, and this is the Wednesday video. You never know what you're going to get. And as you see, I have a panel down here on the cutting table. You may recognize this panel from my Monday video of April 15th, 2024. If not, you will go there and see where I had hauled this along with many other things. And I really didn't have any sort of plan for this. This was bought from a sellout of a fabric store, an art store, and I picked this up for $5. And it is fairly current. I'm going to look it up and let you know later on in the video if you can still find this. It's called Catnip by Gingerbread. Zest for Your Nest for Moda. So it is a Moda panel. I have no idea what year it's from. I'll find out and I'll let you know. Either way, you can take what I'm going to do today and use on any of your panels that have multiple sized figures on it or blocks. Now I'm going to talk a little bit here about improv quilting. You hear that term, maybe you've not heard that term, but there are videos where people do improv quilting. And I don't know that that's an official term because you can kind of improv in any aspect of life, but it certainly can apply to quilting, piecing quilts. So I looked it up in the dictionary too, just to be sure I knew what I was talking about because, you know, I just do that. And it says, I'll read you what the Wikipedia says. First of all, improv is just short for improvisation. And it says, it's the activity of making or doing something not planned beforehand using whatever can be found. So that can transfer into a lot of different aspects of life. It could be the performing arts. It could be engineering, which our quilting that we're going to do here with this is kind of on the idea of engineering because we're taking whatever we can find and coming up with a pretty quilt. So what I'm going to do is cut these apart. I have 4 that are this size, which is a pretty good size block, and then I have 16 that are this small one. In the end, I want all of my blocks to be the same size. At least this is the improv direction that I'm taking. And things will change along the way because that's what you do when you improv. Sometimes you think you're going to do something a certain way and then you have to go a different direction, or you just simply change your mind. And we're just going to be using whatever I have. I'm not going to buy anything else to put this together with. So I just, as a beginning of my improv experiment here, is making all the blocks the same size somehow. And then I pulled some fabrics to use that I know I have plenty of. This one you may have also saw in that video I referenced of this week. This is a 3-yard cut. This is ultimately what I'm thinking the overall sashing will be, and if I have enough, some border. And then I also found some leftover 108, and this is sometimes long, narrow pieces that it's usually a pretty good usable amount, but at the same time it's not measured like, you know, in yardage, because it's a 108 by 108 piece of fabric that has had all the edges cut off. So sometimes it's hard to figure out a way to use this. Now when I lay this on here, it looks a little messy, right? With this, and this. So my idea is to throw in some solid black. So let's just kind of take a look here and see what this might look like. Now I don't know if the dark black, the black, solid black would be next to the square, or if it would be between these two and this would be next to the square, or even if this would be next to the squares. I don't know. But I'm going to find out one way or another, and maybe it's going to be some combination of that. Maybe I'll make all my blocks different. I don't know. Maybe I'll pull in another piece of fabric along the way. I don't know. That's what improv is. And it's not that you don't know what you're doing. It's just that you're just letting your creative juices flow so that you can create something that's unique and ultimately pleasing to the eye. So I'm going to get started by cutting out all the squares of this panel. Okay, we're all cut apart here, and I was just going to measure and see what these are. I'm pretty sure this end is 12. Let me get one you can see a little clearer. Let's see here, 12, yes, 12 by, I'm going to say 14, we'll see here. Yes, 12 by 14. These are not square either. This one's a little bit fuzzy on the edges. Let me get a good one here. 6 by 7. 6 by 7 and 12 by 14. Interesting. That's basically just a miniature of this, half, or it's a quarter. Obviously, it's a quarter. So now what? Well, I think I want to get these square. Let me see if I can do what would happen if I did a 12 by 12. And then ultimately our blocks would be, they would be 11 and a half once they're sewn. So that would mean I would need to take off a half an inch off of each end, correct? No, it's 14. So I need it to be 12. I need to take, yeah, an inch off of each side. And that would make them square. And then these, I could either leave them the size that they are or make them square as well. I could just leave them this size. My objective at this moment is to make these ultimately the same size as the finished size of this one, which would mean these would have a lot more stripping around them out of my other fabrics than this one would. So let me do some math and see what I come up with. Alrighty, so after doing some calculations and some thinking, some improvisation, I decided to, yes, make these large ones square. So to do that, instead of cutting off from here, I'm going to add to the sides. So I need a 14 by 14. That means I need to add 1.5 inches to each side. Why 1.5? Because every time you make a seam, you're going to lose a half an inch. So finished, this will be 12, 1, and 1, which equals 14. So I'll have a 14-inch square. What's going to happen after that, I don't know, because we're improving. So let me go ahead and cut these 2 and add those on, and then see where I go from there. Okay, as a side note, I did look online to see if I could find this panel. It is from 2017. So I could not find it in any Etsy shop. There is reference to it in Etsy shops, but usually as a sold item or as a pattern to use with this panel, something like that, still available. So if you want this exact panel, you're going to have to ask your fabric stashing friends if they have it. You could use, there's another cat panel that's available right now. It kind of has a iridescent, rainbowy look to it. I forget what I don't know if it's called Catitude. It might be Catitude. I forget who makes that, but you could search on that. Anyway, it doesn't have to be cats. You can just use any panel you have that has multiple squares on it or multiple motifs on it. Alright, so here we are at 14 by 14. So now what? That's a good question. I wanted to pull out my black and do something. So I was thinking maybe I could put a small strip of black on here on this side. I would kind of like these blocks not to get bigger than 16. So I may have to do a really thin one around it, and then maybe just a black thicker one on the top and the bottom. I'm not sure. I could vary each one of the blocks as well. So if I was going to make this 16 and it's 14 right now, that means I need an inch on each end, and then I'll have to add a small strip on the side. So let me do that. I think I will cut, let's see, I'm going to need, to make this 16, I need 1.5 on each side, and that will make it 16. And then I'll need that same amount over here, but it's going to look not completely symmetrical exactly, because my 2 tops will be different than my 2 sides. But let's just go with it, see what happens. So now I need to just cut myself a 1.5 inch strip and add those on. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Now our block it's still 14 this way, but it's 16 this way. So that means if I want to make it a 16-inch block, I need to add 1.5 wide strips on each top and bottom. Which color should I use? Well, I think I'm going to stick with the black, and the reason why is because ultimately, as I said, I think I want this as the sashing in between the blocks. So see how that will look, and it'll be wider, and it really pulls the cat and the sashing together, in my opinion. So I could do 2 teeny tiny ones to get both colors in, but I think I will just do the black. It's just continue this black here and just leave these 2 stripes here. So let me go ahead and sew on 2 1.5 inch strips, one top and bottom. Okay, I like it. It looks a little plain, but just wait until we do our smaller blocks. I have ideas. I don't know if the ideas will come to fruition or I will have to create completely new ideas. That's the fun of improv. So let me get one of my cats out here that are smaller and think up something, because we're going to have to make these way larger to get to 16 inches. So I have some ideas. inches. I think I'm going to take some of this and some of my black and do some checkerboard with it. So what I'm going to do then is take probably about a 3.5 inch, maybe 3.5 inch block or strip, make strip sets, and then cut my checkerboard out of that and put that together and put it on each side of this. However, I need to really check that because I need it to come out correctly here. So I might need to go quite a bit smaller, maybe more like 2. Let me do some thinking. The beauty of improv. You can do whatever you want. I thought, since this was 6 inches across, that I could do 2.5 inch strips into a strip set and it would come out to 6 inches, but turns out I'm a 1/2 inch over. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to cut a 1/4 inch off of each one of these sides because it's improv and you can do that. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. So don't get bunched up over stuff like this because this is improv. So look, there's that. So they are you know, 2.5, or well, I guess it'd come out to 2 eventually, except this way they're going to be just a little bit less. So it's going to be like a checkerboard that's not exactly square, but it's only off a little bit. It probably would look a little more improvish if I really, you know, cut one side off. Maybe one set of squares are way bigger than the other side. You can do that kind of stuff. So these are 2.5 put together with a seam. I'm going to cut those just like I did before to put a set down here. And then I'm going to figure out what I need for my sides and maybe for this too, the height to get my 16 inches. So let me go ahead and finish this up. I'll attach this to this and I'll do the same whole thing down here. And then we'll see what's next. Okay, I am 1 inch shy once I get these done of making them 16 inches. So yes, I am going to cut a, let's see, for 1 inch I need it to finish at 1/2 inch. So I need a 3/4 inch strip on each side. I'm going to put a black. And then I think for my 2 sides, I'm going to put a large swath of this. So let me get my little black strips on. What did I say? 3/4. And then we'll see what I need to cut for the sides. That is tiny. The other thing I could do, and I could still actually do this, is cut down deeper. And I'll have a strip of bars there and then my checkerboard pieces, so to speak. I may do that yet. I don't know. But once I sew this in, there's nothing left. It's only going to be 1/4 inch. But it might create a cool effect just having that teeny tiny thin line there. But for now, I think I'm going to keep it. And if I need to change it later, I will. It's not a big deal. That's the beauty of improv. So now I need to figure out what size do I need for my large strips to get to 16. So this is 6 across here. I need 10. So that means 5 on each side and a 1/2 inch on each for the seam allowances. So I need 5.5 inch strips. And I think I'm going to, yes, use my big color piece here just to throw some pizzazz in there. So let me cut some 5.5-inch strips. I think that's what I need. Okay, so here we are on my improv journey. I like how this came out. It looks really funky. I like it. But remember, I wanted to use this as sort of like sashing or something up next to the black, which looks good. I still like this. I don't know. If that's the case, I'm not going to be able to put that up against this. It's too contrasting to me. Not contrasting. It gets too modeled up into this. So what I might do is go ahead. Oh, and by the way, I changed these. I was off 1/2 inch. So I changed these and they came out a nicer size, these little strips right here. So I cut 1-inch strips and sewed it on, so I ended up with a 3/4, which sewn in would be a 1/2. Otherwise it was going to be really small, like a 1/4. And that's fine. However, I don't think this is going to work with this as sashing, in my opinion. It's just too much of the same busyness, you see. It's not contrasting enough. So I think what I will do is go ahead and do what I insinuated earlier about cutting right through here, right through that row. Maybe not all the way through the middle, but through like maybe the top 1.5 inches or so. Cut it off on both sides. Cut a little bit off on both sides here, maybe to get this size. Or I could even do a wider black one. I could. I think I might do that. I think I might cut 1.5 inches off here and here and put a wide black one. But first cut this off to where I can get it back to my 16 and here with my black. I'm not going to do that today. This will be the end of this video for today. So there will definitely be a part 2 to this video. Funky Cat Improv. That's what I'm going to call it. So here I am right now at this point with new, fresh ideas on what I want to do. And who knows what's going to come into my mind by the time you come back here next Wednesday for the part 2 video. So it's very fun, very relaxing, so nice not to have to read a pattern, so nice to be able to pivot in another direction. It's just so much fun. Improv quilting, you should try it. Alright, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll come back for part 2 on Wednesday. In the meantime, I will see you here on Friday or Monday for Finish It Friday and Monday Quilt Chat, 3 videos a week. So subscribe if you haven't and get those notifications so you'll see how this turns out among other things that I have my hands into. Alright, have a great one and try out some improv for yourself, and I will see you soon. Bye.